everyone. As always, I am delighted and excited, especially so this evening because I have a wonderful friend and guest and now sponsor of the Halley Elise show, the amazing, incredible, ultimate networker, George Dubeck. Hi, George. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be here. And by the way, you're looking great.
Well,
You,
thanks.
yeah, you're very photogenic there. You come across looking really good. Anyway, I'm just happy to be on your show, and I know you do all kind of great things, and people probably all around the world are tuning in to hear some good stuff that we hopefully can present to them tonight.
Absolutely. Let's tell everybody first a little bit about you. You have multiple books out. You do emceeing and speaking engagements and connecting people. And I'm trying to think how long I know you because we met when my office was at another building, and I've been in the present building about 10 years. Prior to that, I was in the other building about 5 years. So I'd say roughly 15, 16 years ago. Been a
Wow.
while.
Boy, I was young. That's back when I was young. We'll
Very
bring that up. But I've been around the block. Yeah, I was an engineer at General Motors. Then I moved to Florida from Ohio back in 1985. I had one of the largest singles networks in South Florida called the Find a Mate Singles Network from probably 88 to 92. 10,000 single people were in my network. We were teaching them how to find a mate. And then my wife got pregnant. I sold the business and we went into the high tech world. We started a hosting uh, uh, online marketing company, website development, and we ran that company for many, many years. And then I retired from everyday office work at my company and I became an entrepreneur. I've been in the movies. I've been on national TV. I had my own radio show for 13 years called the Internet Business Hour. I've been a flamenco dancer, a professional flamenco dancer. I was a stained glass artist. I've written books. I've been, like I said, been in movies, television. I was on the Phil Donahue show, Sally Jesse Raphael show back in the day.
Well,
Yeah,
you're aging both of us with
uh,
the
it-
people that you're mentioning.
yeah,
So
right, right.
I
Some people don't even know who they are,
was going to
and
say, there's a certain generation that's going to go, who, what? The gist is when talk shows were really about talk and not about who'd you sleep with and whose baby's mama. And we could go into a whole different scenario there. But I think we'll skip that and get right to the meat of things, which is I'm always speaking about energy and the fact that everything is energy. With you doing the love list, and I had shared before the show this evening about that's the thing that we were going to talk about. People are always looking to connect, they're always looking to understand better what it is that they need to find. Now, I was looking at your actual list when it comes to qualifiers for connecting with someone. However, I know that it's not limited to just a list. I know that it has more to do with creating circles. Can you share a little bit about that?
well, there's a couple of different aspects of finding a compatible mate. Number one is to make a list. That's kind of um, exactly what you're looking for: physical characteristics, personality traits, deal makers, deal breakers, background, experience. Kind of like a private eye looking for a missing person. Like they're describing this person.
Right.
So once you do that, then you have to get into the next phase, which is once somehow you find this compatible person, which is a prospect, then we have an interview process where you go through a series of questions that relate to you, your lifestyle, your attitudes, your behavior. And it's like almost a job interview, really, because in today's world, I hate to say this, but finding a mate's becoming a business. You have to look at it like a business. Love, sex, and romance doesn't seem to work anymore. And
Oh, come
chance after
on.
fate definitely isn't going to work.
Okay, here's the thing though. You want us to find a mate to relate. To me, that
Right.
speaks volumes of what sort of energy you're putting out into the world. And I know we speak a different language when it comes to that. You tend to be more linear in your verbiage, and I tend to be a bit more abstract. A lot of people would say woo woo, but I try really to be mainstream and not out in la la land and glazed over. And I do try to take a look at both sides when you're talking about making a list and you're talking about today's world and I would agree that it's more complicated, more difficult. I noticed on your form, it reminded me of something that I looked at years ago, which was one of these big companies that, like I said, kind of interviewed you as if it was a job that you were going for. However, even if you're going for a job, it has to feel right. Because wouldn't you agree, really and truly, that you could have a perfect list? The person has all of the qualifications that you're looking for, and yet there's nothing there. There's no magic. There's no connection. There's no energetic explosion and fireworks.
Well, there's four things that I would say you have to have for a long-term relationship. Number one is you have to have physical attractiveness. In other words, you
Gotcha.
have to like the way the other person looks. They don't have to be Hollywood handsome or be a Playboy bunny, but you have to like them, their appearance. Okay.
Right.
Number two is communication, being on the same wavelength, understanding each other. Why does the guy like to go to football games? Why does the gal like to go shopping and take trips? I mean, so you got to understand, why do they do that? Not just, oh, I'll let them do that. No, why do they do that? Appreciate it. And then number three is basically um, you have to have respect for the other person, um, mutual respect for each other, and the idea of why you're getting together. Okay, that's number three. Like have respect and a goal that you're going to be married or have kids or whatever. And that's the most important one. Actually, though, is the goal. Is what is the goal with this relationship? And that's why I try to tell people, one of the problems in the past was nobody ever discussed it. It's like you got together with somebody, you had fun, you had a date, you had good sex, and it's like, oh, okay, this is great. But I always say a good date does not always make a good mate. So you have to look into what's going to happen 10 years down the road. In fact, here's what we always say, Hallie, is a relationship goes like this. It goes up for plus or minus 2 years. And then it peaks somewhere after that point. And then sometimes it crashes. And most of the time, it kind of just starts to go like that, a long run.
Why though?
So
Really,
you have to think about what's going to happen after that plus or minus 2 years. What's this person like? You're going to be stuck with them then, let's say. So all the habits that you overlooked because you're having fun and you're having a great time, after 10 years, it's like, you know what? I don't like that anymore.
okay, so let's fine tune this and clarify for those that are listening and watching. Are you talking about those red flags that everybody is aware of? So meaning, you have a great time, however, you don't like the way your mate chews with their mouth open, and it only gets worse over time versus better. And you can't really criticize it because you said okay to it to begin with because you went with them. Are you talking about things that are more intrinsic? Because you said goal. And to me, goal has to do with what's going to inspire us, whether it's an individual or it's a couple. And it's funny because I go back to energy. Everything is based on kinetic energy, how you relate to one another, how you communicate, how good the sex is or isn't, how do you feel about each other just sitting in the same room and not doing anything? When you talk about that 2 year period, why does it have to either peak and then start to move down or crash? Why can it not go the other way and go upward? See, I need more clarity as far as that goes.
Well, all I can say is I go by experience. And all I know is that I don't know any couples out of the thousands of people, singles and couples that I've been involved with over all these years. I never saw anybody that did that got to a point and then it continued to grow. I'd say there is a possibility there might be a few people, but it would be so minuscule that, basically, like, here's my favorite story. My wife and I, when we first got together, we were Barbie and Ken. We were madly in love, passionately in love. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. We had the same likes, the same compatibility. I used my love list to find my wife. Oh, okay, let me tell you the story. When I was single, this was back in the disco days. Remember the disco days?
I do.
Okay. I had a three-piece white suit, black shirt, gold chains, a Smokey and the Bandit Firebird, 2-inch platform shoes, and I was a good dancer. So plenty of dates, not a problem, but I couldn't find that right combination for a female. So I made a list, my love list. I didn't call it that at the time, but I made a list. And this was before the internet and online dating and cell phones. Anyway, I gave my 10 best male friends who are meeting women all the time. I said, look, guys, here's my description. If you find a gal like this, would you please introduce me? 3 months later, my best friend calls me up. He says, I met this gal at a party. You got to meet her. That was my now wife of 44 years. So we met. I gave her my interview. She answered, I called it the 20-question interview. She answered all 20 questions to my satisfaction. And I'll never forget, I looked at her, I said, you know what? You would make somebody a good wife someday. And I walked away and I go, wait a minute. She'd make a good wife for me. That's what it was like, astounding. Everything, the physical characteristics, personality trait, age, background, the interview, everything was great. And then we got together and it continued. It was like, unbelievable. It was fantastic.
Your period.
To what?
You just said it continued, and you guys have been together for so many years.
Yeah, well, 44 years. But here's the funny part. After about 15, 20 years being together, and of course, after 12 years, we had our own child. I had two children from previous marriage. So once we had our child, things did shift. There's no doubt when you're married and you have children, there's a shift of some sort. And sometimes it actually ruins the dynamics. Well, anyway, it was kind of funny, but after she became a mother, let's say, like a lot of times I would ask her to go places with me, and she'd go, I don't want to go. I go, what do you mean you don't want to go? You used to go. And she says, well, she says, when we were first together, I just wanted to be with you. She didn't really care about where it was. She wanted to be with me. Well, now she's got a daughter, and we've been married a long time. And it's like, she doesn't really have to go with me. It's not like a necessity to be around me. And I thought that was fascinating. I thought, wow, it's again, a dynamic shift just because, but we still, I mean, we have a great relationship. We love each other. We still have fun. I mean, we never argue. To tell you the truth, in 44 years, we just don't argue. And one of the reasons, Halley, is because when we got married, the first year I told her she's going to take care of the money. That was it. I says, you take care of the money. I'll give you my paycheck. You take your paycheck. You do what you want with it. And maybe that was a secret. I don't know.
Because it depends if she handles money well or not.
But anyway, the thing with, my son is also a relationship therapist in Indianapolis. And he tells me stories. It's just crazy. But one of the things that no matter what type of person you are, we're having a culture problem in this country today. It's a severe culture problem. Like I was at a meeting tonight at the church. I met this gal. She comes in. She's about in her 60s. She said she just recently broke up. And I says, oh, really? I feel bad. She's with a guy for 30 years. They never got married. She had a kid from a previous marriage, and he had 2 kids from a previous marriage. And they're together 30 years. I mean, they must have had a great time, a great connection, 30 years with somebody. And they're breaking up. I felt so bad. I thought, oh my goodness, like I just felt so bad for her. It just sounded terrible. 30 years, you didn't even get married, but you're breaking up now. And now she goes, oh, I'm lost. She said, I don't know what to do, where to go. I need to meet people. And
here's the thing.
That's kind of our culture.
Okay, that may be our culture, and I don't think we should stay with people that are not satisfying our needs, whether it's intellectual, physical, whether it's emotional, financial. If you're not able to work it out, you're not able to figure it out, work together, I can understand why people separate, move apart.
Well, that's the key. You got to be willing to work together and overcome everything.
And again, that brings me back to, we are interesting beings because we tend to grow, not always together. Sometimes we grow parallel, sometimes we're together, sometimes we go in opposite directions. And if you're together and you make a commitment, and again, I'm going to use the word energy, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, what is she talking about? There is an integral connection that you have with yourself, that if you really trust your partner and you share, you can keep coming back to get to that together so that you can work together. Now, for instance, you and your wife, you recognize that she didn't need to be with you. She's choosing to be with you, still choosing to have a good time with you, but she doesn't need to go with you every single place all the time. And the truth is, you're a very social being. And it's okay because you know wherever you go, you're going to meet people, you're going to have a conversation, you're going to have a good time because you're okay with you. And I've said something for years and years and years that I'm going to share, and that is you should be an individual even when you are a couple. You still have to have those things that make you you. You still have to thrive. And I think your love list helps people find that mate, like you said, to relate. However, where does it go from there? That brings me full circle back to what you were saying about a goal. What is that goal? And do you have to reinvent the goal? Do you have
Well,
to?
everything, nothing is in stone. Like once you make the love list, I always tell people to find that person, you have to really be outgoing. You got to be meeting a lot of people. You got to be really on your game. Most people aren't. So you have to make adjustments. The love list is it's like a dynamic concept. It's not cut in stone. You might have to compromise in certain areas.
Right.
And then the one factor where you come from is, and maybe the most prominent factor of a long-term relationship is chemistry, which
Hmm.
is the thing you're talking about, energy, the touch of a person, the smell of a person, um, how they. In fact, the rate of speech is very important in a relationship. If one person talks too fast and the other talks too slow, over time that wears on each other.
I'm
Like
sure.
I noticed, like when my wife and I talk, we're on the same pace. Like my mom and dad had a horrible relationship. My mom was outgoing, loud, talking all the time. My dad was quiet and subdued. And it was like, I could just see they aggravated each other. So just little things, little chemistry things that could throw you off.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's
Let's get back
critical.
to something though that makes your list, excuse me, different, and that is it's not limited to the person just looking. You said before about when you were younger, you made that list and you told all the guys, here, this is my list. You actually invite other people into the search for your mate, correct?
Right, right. Yeah, well,
Explain
that's the key. I call it referral matchmaking. So
referral.
instead of going online dating or going to bars and nightclubs, because the other thing about getting people to help you is usually they're going to introduce you to people or find people that are in the circle, the same circle. It's more credibility. They're not strangers. They're not coming from some different country or city. You don't know who they are. There's just a stronger credibility factor involved there.
Okay. Now, how does someone connect with you so that they can connect with these wonderful circles of people? Do they have to do it alone by themselves? I mean, you're there to help, yes?
Yeah, well, that's what I teach people. I coach people on referral matchmaking, and the concept of making the love list, doing the interview process, and then understanding, your goals. What are you looking to achieve? Not just find a guy. Um, like I had a gal the other day says she was stationed over in I forget what country, but she had been divorced, and she goes, "Hey George, I just want a guy." I go, "Wait, that's not that's
Because
I mean,
Jenny,
really? You just want a guy?"
I love it.
Okay, you know. So people, I try to get them to focus a little bit, like, what is the end result? Why do you want a guy? What are you going to do with him? Okay, and he should, and also both parties should establish the goal in the beginning, not wait till you have all that fun dating and good sex and all that, and then you say, well, I really want to do this, and he goes, oh, I didn't know you want to do that. I want to do this. So in the beginning, that's what the interview process is. Like if you found the right person, the most compatible person, what is your objective? What is your goal? Do you want to marry them? You want to live together? You want to move to Europe? You want to start a business together? You definitely need to establish that.
I think that adds to that idea of growing together. I
Yep.
don't want to leave this out. I know you have so many books out. Are
Yeah,
any
in
of them
fact, yeah, I got quite a few books. I have the
right? I know,
Personal
but
Introduction
these are
Handbook for
fast.
Singles.
Okay, back up the handbook for singles. Show that cover again. Okay. And all of these can be found at tinyurl.com. Excuse me, ULT, George, GORGE. Is it forward slash? I think it might be forward slash. Yes, tinyurl.com /ULT George. And if they don't know that or they can't use that, they can go to Amazon and look up George Dubec, Dubec, correct? Did I lose you there? George, are you still there? Oh, seems like sound went out. Okay, well, George is holding up his books. For some reason, George, you're muted. I don't know what happened. Maybe you can push a button there. Tech, that's what happens when you're on live, but it's okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. All right,
okay.
so what I was
Anyway, these are as good as an interview. These have thousands of questions about the real world and about sex that you can sit with your partner on a long car ride and ask all these questions from the book and learn about each other. That's why I created these.
Excellent. I love that. Okay, so again, people can find those if they don't remember the URL I just gave, which was the tinyurl.com/alt, U-L-T, George, George. And the alt is actually not A because it's alt for like ultimate.
Right.
Right. But if for some reason you didn't catch that, you can go to Amazon.com and look up George Dubec, Dubec, and repeat it again. And George is George. You have a multitude of books. You have books on marketing. You have books on networking. You've pretty much taken license to share with everybody all the knowledge that you have, which is amazing. Now,
yeah, I covered both business and social networking, I call it.
Right. Now tell me, if you could tell a couple how to move beyond that 2-year period and do so with finesse, what would that sound like?
Well, the only 2 words that I would use to people is you got to make a commitment and it is your obligation. That's it. And you got, and I hate to say it this way, but you got to make it work. But sometimes because of situations, I don't know, alcoholism or drug addiction or somebody's cheating on somebody. I mean, it like gets to a point where it breaks. But other than that, you just, the main thing is, well, here's the key that I found out is if you wake up every day and think about how you can make your wife happy or your husband happy, I think that would make your much smoother sailing, and you can keep that instead of dipping down, you can kind of keep that or even make it go up higher. Just don't think about yourself. Think about what can I do today? Fold the towels, wash the dishes. I don't know, buy her flowers.
Good. My brother always says, happy wife, happy life. So this is in alignment with that. I think though it comes down to really and truly recognizing that you are not the only one in the relationship. And so you need to make sure that both of you are happy. Both of you are feeling good. And as I mentioned earlier, having those needs met. Is there, by the way, a quick way to reach you if somebody doesn't want to go to a URL? Is there a good phone number to give out for you?
Yeah, anybody can call me at 561-777 Lucky Sevens 3196. So that's 561-777-3196. Call me up. I also do a lot of giving away of my books by PDF format, sometimes just to get people jump started because some people really struggling. So I'm not out to, I've already set myself up in life as far as financial. I'm not interested in making money per se. I'm interested in helping people.
Quick question. If somebody calls or texts and says, hey, I'm really in a bad spot, can I get a book? Would you be open to sending them? Okay. So one more time, that phone number, because believe it or not, it's just about time to say goodbye. So phone number
561-777-3196. And I'm more than happy to share, my books with people that I feel like they really need to get jump started.
Thanks so much for being on tonight, George. And remember, everybody, you really want to think about your mate, and finding the mate, you have to be in alignment with them. And when you have them, you really have to be in alignment with them so that you're able to continue and move forward and grow. George's books can be found on Amazon. Just look up George Dubec. And to reach out to me for a private session or to pick my brain after the show, you can inbox me or you can call the radio. Thank you.